जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जयो गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनतीरा वनचारी यमुनतीरा वनचारी जयो राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जयो राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जयो गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जयो गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनतीरा वनचारी यमुनतीरा वनचारी जयो राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जयो राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जयो राधा गोपी जना वल्लभा राधा गोपी जना वल्लभा जयो निताय पतिता पावन गौरा हरि जयो निताय पतिता पावन गौरा हरि प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरण अरविंद भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी शिला प्रभुपाद की जय जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामा आचार्य श्रीला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय श्रीला रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीवा गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ छठ गोस्वामी प्रभुगण की जय प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा गोपी जन वल्लभा गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय श्री एका चक्र धाम की जय गंगा मैया यमुना मैया की जय भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय समवैत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय निताय गौ प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees All glories, all glories, all glories to lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Agyan-timirandhasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshur-unmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Nama om Vishnu padaya Krishna pristhaya bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachalam, pangam langayate girim, yat kripa tamaham bande, Shri Gurum Dinatarinam, Paramananda Madhavam, Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, chapter 26, verse number 7. Tad asya samsritir bandha paratantriyam cha tat kritam bhavati akartur ishasya. Tad asya samsritir bandha paratantriyam cha tat kritam Bhavati akartu ishasya sakshino nivritatmanaha tadasya samshritir bandhaha paratantriyam cha tatkritam bhavati akartu ishasya sakshino nivritatmanaha. Synonyms. Tat from the misconception. Asya of the conditioned soul, samsriti conditioned life, bandha bondage, paratantriyam dependence, cha and tat kritam made by that, bhavati is akartuhu of the non-doer, ishasya independent, sakshina the witness, Nivrita Atmanaha, joyful by nature. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Material consciousness is the cause of one's conditional life, in which conditions are enforced upon the living entity by the material energy. Although the spirit soul does not do anything and is transcendental to such activities, he is thus affected by conditional life. Once again, translation: material consciousness is the cause of one's conditional life, in which conditions are enforced upon the living entity by the material energy. Although the spirit soul does not do anything and is transcendental to such activities, he is thus affected by conditional life. Purport. The Mayavadi philosopher, who does not differentiate between the Supreme Spirit and the individual spirit, says that the conditional existence of the living entity is his Leela or pastime. But the word pastime implies employment in the activities of the Lord. The Mayavadis misuse the word and say that even if the living entity has become a stool eating hog, he is also enjoying his pastimes. This is a most dangerous interpretation. Actually, the Supreme Lord is the leader and maintainer of all living entities. His pastimes are transcendental to any material activity. Such pastimes of the Lord cannot be dragged to the level of the conditioned activities of the living entities. In conditional life, the living entity actually remains as if a captive in the hands of material energy. Whatever the material energy dictates, the conditioned soul does. He has no responsibility. He is simply the witness of the action. But he is forced to act in that way due to his offense in his eternal relationship with Krishna. He is simply the witness of the action, but he is forced to act in that way due to his offense in his eternal relationship with Krishna. Lord Krishna therefore says in Bhagavad Gita that Maya, his material energy, is so forceful that it is insurmountable. But if a living entity simply understands that his constitutional position is to serve Krishna and he tries to act on this principle, then however conditioned he may be, the influence of Maya immediately vanishes. This is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita. This is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter. Krishna takes charge of anyone who surrenders to him in helplessness, and thus influence of Maya or conditional life is removed. The spirit soul is actually Satchid Anand, eternal, full of bliss and full of knowledge. Under the clutches of Maya, however, he suffers from continued birth, death, disease, and old age. One has to be serious to cure this condition of material existence and transfer himself to Krishna consciousness. For thus, his long suffering may be mitigated without difficulty. In summary, the suffering of the conditioned soul is due to his attachment to material nature. This attachment should thus be transferred from matter to Krishna. Okay, once again, translation. Material consciousness is the cause of one's conditional life, in which conditions are enforced upon the living entity by the material energy. Although the spirit soul does not do anything and is transcendental to such activities, he is thus affected by conditional life. So this is a conversation very relevant to myself. This is a conversation between Kapila Muni and Devahuti about material existence. Prabhupada gives a very beautiful purport. The summary is, we have an eternal relationship with Krishna. At some point of time, somehow or other, we because of the offense of going against the will of the Lord, um, neglecting the relationship with the Lord because of that particular offense, the living entity comes under the control of the material nature, and he becomes conditioned by the three modes. When we are conditioned by the three modes, it is called conditional life. It is something that is forced upon us. Prabhupada says the living entity does not take responsibility, means the living entity is not in a way responsible from one perspective, because the three modes are forcing the desire upon the living entity. Living entity still has free will, but he is bound, he is entangled by the three modes. Then in the translation, it is said, our material consciousness is a cause of our conditioned life. Um, yes. So basically, when we know this particular verse, Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hoy Andhakar Jaha Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Adhikar. If we become Krishna conscious, then Maya will loses its grip on us. But the moment we go away from Krishna, or the moment we do something which is displeasing to Krishna, the influence of Maya, material energy, the influence of three modes will bound us. Prabhupada also says the living entity are trying to exploit the material nature, or trying to enjoy the three modes. When we try to enjoy this world, we are actually trying to enjoy the three modes. The reason we want to enjoy, the reason we have a desire to enjoy itself, is because we are under the control of the three modes. The three modes: mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, they forces the living entity to act according to their will. The grip of Maya on us is as tight as we are away from Krishna, and as loose as we become absorbed in Krishna consciousness. But when either offending Krishna or offending the devotees of Krishna, then it is called aparadh. And one devotee was mentioning the word aparadh means, apa means against, and Radha is Srimati Radharani. Aparadh can be seen as, like, one Maharaj was mentioning, aparadh means we lose the qualification to serve Srimati Radharani. We cannot have that inspiration, that desire. Or aparadh is something that pleases, that displeases Srimati Radharani. One time my spiritual master was mentioning why we should not offend, because it displeases Krishna, because it displeases Srimati Radharani. So when that happens, Maya influence increases. Sometime for small things, anger may arise, and that is because of the strong grip of mode of ignorance. Sometimes lust will arise, and that is because of the strong grip of mode of passion. And sometimes we may be well situated, but we may sometimes, like pride, sometimes greed, mode of passion, pride, mode of passion. Sometimes we may feel ourselves as we are doing good, or we are somebody else's well-wisher, or we are the doer of our activities. Again, mode of goodness will take over. So in that way, whatever consciousness we have, which is not Krishna conscious, it is because of the effect of three modes who have a strong grip on us. And then Prabhupada also says the moment the living entity realizes one's constitutional position with Krishna, and one becomes sincere to act in that constitutional position, immediately Maya will loses its grip on us. So this is something it says in the purport was very nice. Whatever the material energy dictates, the conditioned soul must do. In other words, in a way, we are helpless. When that comes, that is like such a force, and that will drag us down. And Prabhupada quotes 7th chapter from Bhagavad Gita, which says, Mama Maya Duratyaya, Mam Eva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite, to go away from the control of material nature. The three modes is Duratyaya, very, very difficult, but one who surrenders onto me can easily cross beyond it. So always the principle is ashray, shelter, shelter, shelter. Many times when we don't take shelter, the mode will definitely going to act through us. And the moment, that's why if you're just conscious of, oh, I am being getting affected by either mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of goodness, the moment we become conscious, we can take shelter of Krishna, and that's the way we can weaken that grip she has on us, the three modes have on us. But if we don't take shelter of Krishna at that instant, um, we will act based on the mode. So Prabhupada says he has no responsibility in a way. In a way, we are responsible because the reason we are in her grip is because of the misuse of our free will. That's why the grip is there. But whatever, that is the past. But now the grip she has, many times we feel like helpless. Yet the free will is still there to take shelter of the Lord. And how strong is the free will depends upon how sincere is our sadhana. Or the more we progress, the more we can exercise our free will. The more we are bound, it's like helplessly we act based on what the three modes dictate us to do. He is simply the witness of the action, but he is simply the witness of the action, but he is forced to act in that way due to his offense to his eternal relationship with Krishna. The cause of everything is the offense in one's eternal relationship with Krishna. And the way we can overcome that offense is by working on re-establishing our eternal relationship with Krishna. Lord Krishna therefore says in Bhagavad Gita that Maya, his material energy, is so forceful that it is unsurmountable. This is what I want to say. But if a living entity simply understands that his constitutional position is to serve Krishna, and he tries to act on this principle, then however conditioned he may be, the influence of Maya immediately vanishes. So if we simply try to act in our constitutional position and try to serve Krishna, then however conditioned we may be, the influence of Maya immediately vanishes. So this is something the verse says. I was also reflecting on this point of offense, offending either our relationship with Krishna or offending or maybe displeasing some devotees. I just want to throw some reflection on that based on the scriptures. One time, a devotee, this is during one of the last lecture of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and one devotee asked Maharaj, I'm not able to absorb myself in the holy name. And Maharaj, what can be the cause? And Maharaj said, it is because of offenses only. We know there is Nam Aparad, there is Nam Abhas, there is Shuddha Nam. Nam Abhas is when we starting getting a glimpse of Shuddha Nam, or the Nam becomes absorbed, Nam becomes attentive. Nam Abhas is also compared to the stage of Nishtha, steadiness, where there is some to some level there is absorption. Sometimes the offenses happens knowingly, sometimes offenses happens unknowingly. When knowingly offenses happens, then material energy becomes very strong on us. In other words, anger will arise, lust will arise, absorption will go away. Lot of like material energy will have lost strong influence on us, and we will feel it when the offense happens knowingly, which can be eradicated by rectifying the offense. That requires humbling ourselves. If we don't humble, then the reaction of the three modes will prolong, although eventually it will go away also, but it will take a long time. Then the offenses which happens unknowingly, which is the case of most of the devotees, because especially those who are managing some services, or the more management we have, naturally there are many unknown things that happen that we don't even want to do. But like my spiritual master says, we cannot please everyone all the time. Somebody will get displeased no matter what decision you make, because everyone have um, personal desires, and when we don't make decision which I mean, when you please somebody, somebody else will be displeased. This is the nature of management. So there are many offenses that happens unknowingly that will still keep the absorption, but that will make the holy name little heavy. But we will see the Lord will not be displeased. The Lord will offer full protection. Material energy will not be very strong in a way. The three modes will not be very strong. But when we chant, the names will be heavy when there is unknown offenses. Unknown offenses can be eradicated by, I mean, both kind of offenses. The solution is taking shelter of Krishna, especially if it's an unknown offense. Keep praying to Krishna, take a humble position. Krishna, please help me to come out of it. And within over a period of time, sometime a day, sometime 2 3 days it takes. But sometimes the offense keeps on happening daily basis, then it becomes difficult to come back also. But if knowingly some offense happens, basically because of false ego, because of envy, because of material desire, for whatever reason, then that may take a very long time unless we specifically try to rectify them. Then another thing, uh, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions, there are 2 3 points I wanted to share. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions in his book Madhurya Kadambini, quoting Padma Puran, that continuous chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra will help overcome the offenses. Continuous chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Now, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also mentions that if one knowingly commit an offense, if one knowingly commits an offense, then even if one chants and is unwilling to take a humble position, then the result will not be there. For unknown offenses, yes. And this is, I had something in the show something. I was just searching some of the things. Okay. I was just searching some Prabhupada quotes on this. This is, even if one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra offensively, one can avoid offenses by continuously chanting without deviation. If we still continue to chant, the offenses will go down. Many times what happens now, even if we are new, or if we are in the middle stage, or if we are in the advanced stage or very advanced, it doesn't matter. Wherever the offenses are there, the holy name will lose its grip on us. Many times new people, when they make some mistake, it's very easy for them to go away, because they don't feel, but they don't may not understand that although the holy name is all powerful, it is because of my imperfection that I'm not able to absorb. But they may feel like, oh, there is nothing in the holy name, and that's why they may give it up also, because they make mistake, but their faith is not so strong. That's where association and hearing keeps us going, even though we don't experience the holy name. So here Prabhupada says in 6.3.32, which is Ajamil pastime, one may very easily practice chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord and thus become ecstatic in spiritual life. Padma Puran states, Nama Paradha Yuktanam Namani Eva Haranti Agham Avishranti Prayuktani Tani evartha karani cha. Even if one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra offensively, one can avoid offenses by continuous chanting without deviation. One who becomes accustomed to this practice will always remain in a pure transcendental position, untouchable by sinful reactions. This we may have also seen in our own chanting. Sometimes, when we start chanting, it may take us 8 to 10 to 12 rounds and we don't feel anything. And by the time we come to maybe 13, 14, 15, 16 rounds, then we may feel some absorption. And those, if you chant extra rounds, then sometime, depending upon how much mistake we have made, just the Harinam will remove the offense and Harinam will give you absorption. That's why no matter what happens, it's like keep going on chanting, chanting, chanting. No absorption, keep going on chanting. And every day we make mistakes. If we actually please devotees, then from the first round itself, throughout we'll be very absorbed. Sometime absorption comes only in the end. Then, I mean, there are many quotes. Uh, it is recommended that even if one commit offenses, one should continue chanting the holy name. In other words, the chanting of the holy name makes one's offenseless. If you just continuously chant the holy name, you will become offenseless. In the book Nama Kaumudi, it is recommended that if an offender at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, he should submit to that Vaishnava and be excused. So depends. I mean, if we offend a Vaishnava, then we have to take a humble position, lower our false ego, beg forgiveness. Otherwise, the and there are Prabhupada quotes it over and over. There is no way of atonement for these offenses. It is therefore recommended that an offender at the feet of the holy name continue to chant the holy name 24 hours a day. Constant chanting of the holy name will make one free of offenses, and thus he will gradually be elevated to transcendental platform on which he can chant the pure holy name and thus become lover of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ultimately, one should seriously and sincerely continue to chant. This is another thing I wanted to mention is like here Prabhupada says, even if there are offenses, we shall go on chanting. The chanting will help me to get out of the offenses. Of course, we must take care that we may not commit offenses. Therefore, 10 offenses are given. But the solution to, other than Vaishnava Aparadha, the solution is continuously chant. Keep on chanting. Like many times, how it gives a contradictory feeling, because many times when there is an offense, then we don't feel like chanting and then we want to chant less. But then if you are like I today is very difficult, so I mean, especially if you're doing extra rounds, then I want to chant less today, I don't feel anything. But that's the time we need to chant more, because that is what. Or if you are in a situation where I'm not feeling any taste in chanting, what should I do? That's why, like in our temple we organize 32 rounds, or once in a while 64 rounds, like Haridas Thakur. And then we feel like, oh, after doing that, for few days the chanting was very good, and that is because we nullified many offenses by more chanting. So the solution to most of the offenses is we have to go on chanting. Now it will be it will be almost impossible for us to not commit offenses, because we are conditioned. We will speak in a way, we will look at in a way, we will the mind will think in a way. There are so many things that will happen naturally. It is impossible to avoid offenses. And that's why the best solution is go on chanting purposes. No matter what happens, go on chanting. Another thing is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is more merciful than Lord Krishna. Yesterday I was reading something from Lochandas Thakur Chaitanya Mangal, and Lochandas Thakur was explaining, if you hear, like he was mentioned, just the concept of offenses, coming out of offenses, Lochandas Thakur was mentioning, hearing God Leela will rectify or nullify or reduce the offenses. Hear about Mahaprabhu, it will reduce the offenses. Then another thing Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says is chant the Pancha Tattva mantra. It will reduce the offenses. So it is said like Mahaprabhu is mercy incarnation. So um, mm, two concepts I want to mention more. One concept is when we are feeling heavy, when we are feeling low in our chanting because of offenses, it will be easier to take shelter of Mahaprabhu Nityananda Prabhu. Mahaprabhu Nityananda Prabhu have a very low bar to take shelter of them. You will see, even if we are not doing well, it will be much easier to remember on Mahaprabhu Nityananda Prabhu. They kind of, like very merciful, they come to our level at an offensive stage and give shelter. But we will see absorption in Radha and Krishna requires like at least a certain level of divinity. We will see those days we are very absorbed, we may be able to think about Krishna. Anything related to either meditate on form of Krishna or begging or a pastime of Krishna or a quality of Krishna, those things requires adhikar because Krishna takes offense. Ultimately, we want to get to that stage of absorption in Krishna, but only through Mahaprabhu can we approach there because like it is said Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave two processes. One is the path of sadhana bhakti, one is directly the path of raga bhakti. But like that time there was the concept of Siddha Pranali and other concept were there. And that was there at that point of time because the people in that age were so pure. But now, because of so much material advancement and so many opportunities of contamination and so much sinful activities in the past, the consciousness of a living entity is sufficiently degraded. And that's why this sadhana will only get us there. Shortcuts, there is no shortcut there. It just continuously go on chanting and take shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu. That will naturally help us to advance. Now, there is something I wanted to share from this Adi Leela. It says, Anayase bhavashaya Krishne rase vana eka Krishna name fale payeta dhana. As a result of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one makes such great advancement in spiritual life that simultaneously his material existence terminates and he receives love of Godhead. The holy name of Krishna is so powerful that by chanting even one name, one can very easily achieve these transcendental riches. One name of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is sufficient, and Hare Krishna Mahamantra can help us immediately advance and terminate the material existence. Then I will read two more verses on this. हेना कृष्ण नाम यदि लाया बहुबारा ताबु यदि प्रेमे नाहे अश्रुधारा ताबे जानी अपराधा ताहते प्रचुरा कृष्ण नाम बीजाता है ना करे अंकुरा. If one chants the exalted holy name of the Lord again and again, and yet his love for the Supreme Lord does not develop, and tears do not appear in his eyes, Ashrudhara, it is evident that because of his offenses in chanting, the seed of the holy name of Krishna does not sprout. Even the chanting name of Krishna, no symptoms are coming because of Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says, because of his offenses in chanting, the seed of the name of Krishna does not sprout. And one, I think, last verse. चैतन्य नित्यानंदे नाही ऐसा विचारा नाम लैते प्रेमा देना वाहे अश्रुधारा. But if one only chants with some slight faith the holy name of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, very quickly he is cleansed of all offenses. Thus, as soon as he chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, he feels the ecstasy of love of Godhead. So, um, two things. One is taking shelter when we are especially in our low phase, taking shelter of Mahaprabhu Nityananda Prabhu, remembering Mahaprabhu Nityananda Prabhu, hearing the pastimes of Mahaprabhu Nityananda Prabhu, God Leela, anything connected to Lord is accessible and is a means to absorption, is they that itself will nullify our offenses. Mahaprabhu Nityananda Prabhu. Parama Karuna Pahudui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra. And then another thing is continuously chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And just by continuously chanting, If it is not a known offense or intentional offense, just by continuously chanting will give absorption. And especially if we continuously chant, I mean, as much as we can chant, and take shelter of Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, hear or read Chaitanya Charitamrita, hear God Lila from our spiritual master. These two things will help us grow faster. And actually, there is one more thing. I was reading. Yes, this is something I liked. This is from Lokanath Maharaj. He says, path of pure devotion unfolds via the verses of Shad Goswami Ashtakam. Prabhupada says this is one of my favorite bhajan, and Prabhupada says we can read this bhajan every day or we can sing it every day. Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Paro, that Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghu Jagoshi Jiva Gopalaka, because the verses, the life of the six Goswamis, the behavior of six Goswamis, the mercy of six Goswamis, the mood of six Goswamis, what were they, remembering, their mood of separation, their mercy on all living entities, their desire to uplift, their desire to read Nana Shastra Vichari Naikanipuna, Sadharma Samsthapaka, to establish their activities are described in this song. And Maharaj says this itself will help us move daily remembrance of the life and activity of six Goswamis, which is just this 8 verses written by Srinivasacharya, will help us go in direction of pure devotional service. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share. If there is any discussion, we can take.
Very nice class, Prabhuji, especially the topic on offenses. It's always such a tricky topic and such a burning topic in the minds of devotees every now and then. Very grateful for bringing out so many nice points, especially the point where it seems contradictory, where chanting, when you are feeling low, you don't feel like chanting, but when you chant more, then only that is the time when you should chant more. That point was so powerful, Prabhuji. And thank you for the reminder as always. Very grateful for your class, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Anything else? Anyone has any discussion, any question?
Prabhuji, if you don't mind, if no one has questions, can you please sing that Astagam one time, Prabhuji?
Like the beginning part?
Is it a big Vasika? You cannot finish it.
I mean, I can sing one paragraph, just.
Okay, sure.
This is the Ashtakam, which is Chad Goswami Ashtakam. Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Parau Premamritambo Nidhi Dhira Dhira Jana Priyo Priyakaro Nirmatsaro Pujito Shri Chaitanya Kripa Bharo Bhuvi Bhuvo Bharavahantarako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Nana Shastra Vicharinai Nipuno Sadharma Samsthapako Okanam hitakarino tribhuvane manyo sharanyakaro. So it goes in this meter, but very beautiful translation, very deep. This is from what I know, either the only one or one of the 2-3 songs written by Srinivasacharya. Just glorifying six Goswamis. Okay, is that all right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I love six Goswamis.
Thank you.
I had one question, basically a clarification.
Yes.
So when you mentioned the point that the holy name is feeling heavy, what does that mean? Does that mean the desire to chant has gone down?
Feeling heavy means when you chant mantra, you feel like so difficult to chant. Sometimes if you chant, you feel like the holy name flows. It's easy and it's natural to chant. And sometimes chanting will be like the heart feels like so many kgs there. You're like, oh Krishna, what is going on today? What is happening? So means there can be either an unknown offense or can be a non-offense. Non-offense, Krishna will help us to understand. Unknown offense, chanting will be difficult to absorb, but you won't feel so much effect of the material energy. You will still be able to remember. And I mean, this is something more personal. Um, I'd still like to share like how I see um, especially if you are a pujari and if you're addressing their lordship either at home or at in the temple Radha Gopijana Vallabha, you will see their expressions, they correspond to your consciousness. If your consciousness is like, one devotee was asking Prabhu, how do we um like what is the art of good dressing? I said, Prabhu, there is only one art, which is your japa only. Your japa will be reflected in the expression of Radha Gopijana Vallabha or your home god Nitya deities, Jagannath deities. We all have seen, if we have deities, we all have seen they sometimes they have more smiling face, sometimes they have more serious face. Everything depends upon a lot upon the sadhaka. And what I have seen independent, like if there is a known offense, we will clearly see they are unhappy. But if the chanting is heavy, but if it is an unknown offense, but if you are sincerely trying to serve, you will see that they are pleased with you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That is practically, yes. Thank you so much.
Like I see my consciousness by seeing their lordship, especially after dressing, they change expression. So I see my consciousness how I'm doing. Okay, I think I'm not doing good today. That's why the Lord is not very pleased with my consciousness. Yeah, especially those who have deities and those who are take care of deities dressing at home or in temple will be able to relate to what I am saying.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavats, please accept my humble obeisances of Mr. Prabhupada. So
Mataji,
we have
Garupanam.
have an extension question about it when you brought that point. So if, again, this is more like, the struggle that I go through or an observation after this, just what you shared. So if while dressing, sometimes we go through, right? Sometimes the dressing goes through very smoothly. Like, it's just like as if, I don't know if I have to, it's
Yeah,
it's
close.
cooperating, like, it's making easy. And sometimes it's like, even the small, like just putting the peacock feather or just putting a pin makes it so challenging. It's like, why today? Like, is that then we need to introspect, Prabhu?
Yeah, I mean, anything that happens there is a direct reciprocation for consciousness.
Thank you so much for the clarity. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, are we good to end? I think. Okay. Thank you all very much for joining. If I spoke anything wrong, please forgive me as a humble servant. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Dandat pranams, Babuji and Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much. Wonderful.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Dandat
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Prabhuji.